I used to believe that love was about giving everything I had. I thought that if I just showed up consistently, answered every text right away, and always made time for her, that would make me the man she would never leave. That by being the most emotionally available, the most understanding, the most loyal, I was proving my worth. But I didn't know that every time I said yes when I wanted to say no, I was slowly teaching her to lose respect for me. It wasn't because I was a bad man. It was because I had no frame, no boundaries, no edge. I was soft where I should have been strong. I was always there, and yet I was invisible. Women don't lose interest because you're not kind. They lose interest when there's nothing left to earn, and that's exactly what I had done. I gave affection like a faucet, constantly running, never making her work for it. And that steady stream of attention didn't make her feel special. It made her feel like she was given something she didn't even ask for. And deep down, that creates guilt, not gratitude. I thought love was about logic, that if I could just explain how good I was, she would stay. But women don't fall in love through explanations. They fall through experiences. Through the way a man makes them feel in his presence, through the energy he carries, the certainty he embodies. Didn't have that. So was too busy trying to be her comfort that I forgot to be her challenge. I didn't understand that what keeps a woman intrigued isn't constant access. It's selective access. Not games, but value. And I hadn't yet learned how to protect mine. It took me a long time to realize that women don't bond through comfort. Alone, they bond through emotion, through the unknown, through the feeling of being led by a man who knows who he is. I was doing the opposite. I was performing, not leading. I thought if I was nice enough, understanding enough, agreeable enough, she would see me as the right choice. But what I didn't realize was that I was slowly draining the very thing that created attraction in the first place, tension. Not negative tension, not fighting or drama, but the kind of tension that makes her wonder about you, makes her lean in, that makes her curious about what you'll do next. And I had killed all of that by making myself completely available, constantly predictable. It's always reacting instead of responding. The truth I refused to see back then was that women want to feel your strength, not just physical strength. Emotional strength. They want to feel that no matter how wild their emotions get, you're not going to crumble with them. They want to feel your steadiness, and I didn't have that. I mistook passivity for kindness. I thought being soft all the time was how I would win her over, but I was only making myself forgettable. When you give a woman your attention without requiring anything from her in return, not respect, not emotional investment, not even effort, you're not making her feel loved, you're making her feel pressured. It's pressured to give something back that she never truly earned. And people don't value what they don't work for. I thought I was giving love, but I was actually giving my power away, and nothing drains attraction faster than a man who doesn't know how to hold his own energy. The shift started when I finally understood that being emotionally available isn't the same as being emotionally anchored. I thought I was doing the right thing by absorbing every emotional storm she brought my way, thinking that's what strength looked like, being endlessly patient, endlessly understanding, endlessly forgiving. But I wasn't being strong. I was being passive. I was reacting to her emotions instead of standing firm in my own. Women don't want a man who flinches every time they express frustration. They want a man who can hold space for it without being moved off center. And I wasn't that man yet. I thought keeping the peace meant avoiding conflict, when really, keeping the peace is about having the strength to face it head on without fear. What I didn't realize was that women test men not to break them, to find out if they can trust them. They need to know that you can handle the storm without falling apart. And every time I tiptoed around her moods, every time I over-explained myself just to smooth things over, I was showing her that I couldn't handle that responsibility. I wasn't leading, I was reacting, performing, hoping to be chosen. And that's the energy that turns a man into an option, not a priority. It took me a long time to see that love isn't about giving everything up front. It's about giving, intentionally, with standards, with direction, with clarity. When you lead, you don't need to convince. Your energy does the work. And that's when a woman feels safe, not when you bend over backwards. But when you stand tall and firm, even in the face of her chaos, that's when she feels protected. And that's when she finally respects you. It wasn't until I started valuing my own time, energy, and emotional well-being that everything changed. I stopped making women the center of my focus and started making myself the center of my life.
Oh.
Not in a selfish way, but in a grounded way, a way that made me realize that my peace was more important than anyone's approval. For too long, I thought love was about proving myself. I thought that if I kept showing her how loyal, patient, and available I was, she'd recognize my value and stay. But the opposite kept happening. They left not because I wasn't good enough, but because I didn't respect myself enough to hold boundaries. And when a man doesn't respect himself, no woman will respect him either. It's not cruelty. Nature. Women are drawn to leadership, to a man who knows what he stands for and refuses to bend for temporary attention. I learned that saying no isn't rejection. Saying no to things that drain you is how you preserve your strength. And that's exactly what women are drawn to men who have strength, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. The moment I stopped giving everything away for free, I started attracting a different kind of energy. Women began respecting me, not because I demanded it, but because I embodied it. I wasn't trying to impress anymore, I was expressing who I was unapologetically, and that's the energy that makes a woman feel safe, not because she controls you, but because you can't be controlled. Real attraction isn't built on being agreeable, it's built on being intentional. And when you're intentional, people either rise to meet you or they fall away. Either way, you win. You don't lose women, you lose confusion. You don't lose love, you gain clarity. The real transformation happened when I stopped chasing women and started chasing purpose. For the first time, I wasn't waking up wondering if I was good enough for her. I was waking up focused on building something real. My life stopped revolving around her moods, her choices, her attention. It started revolving around my mission, my vision, my standards. And that shift didn't just make me stronger, it made me untouchable in the best way. Realize that the men who constantly lose women are usually the ones who've made women their source of fulfillment. But women were never meant to be the source. They're meant to be the complement. And when you flip that, when you build a life that feels complete with or without her, everything changes. You're no longer playing defense, hoping she stay, you're leading the offense. Building a life that naturally filters out anyone who can't match your energy. That's when the right kind of women start showing up. Not because you chased them, but because your energy pulled them in. And the wrong ones? They don't stick around not because you pushed them away, but because they couldn't rise to meet you. That's not rejection, that's alignment. That's power. And that's when I realized something deeper. I don't fear losing women anymore. I fear losing myself again. Because I've been that man before, the one who bent, who shrank, who performed. I'll never go back there. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm finally at peace. And peace doesn't beg. Peace doesn't chase. Peace doesn't lower. It's self for temporary comfort. It builds. It expands. And that's what I became, a man who doesn't just attract women, but who attracts respect. Not by demanding it, but by embodying it. And that's the real shift that changes everything.